So I got this protein shake. It's called Slate. Not sponsored. I just found it at HEB. And it's 42 grams of protein, and it's in a can. Usually I don't see protein shakes in a can, but we're about to find out how this is. Oh, it's not bad, actually. I thought this would be a lot worse. If you're trying to build a little muscle here, then it's not a bad choice. So anyway, Austin had a snowstorm earlier this month, which was fun. It's the yearly Texas snowstorm where everybody goes crazy because Texas doesn't know how to handle the cold weather. And it's also the same time where UT uses it as a reason to just, take a day off, right? All y'all who are probably from more colder climates are probably like, really? Like 32 degrees? Like that's what shut down your whole city? That's crazy. I still have to wander through snow. I still have to go to work if I'm snowed in by like 20 feet or whatever. But I took that as an opportunity to actually go outside and shoot some footage with the Red. Unfortunately, one of my lenses started fogging in the middle, so that was not fun. I couldn't clean it. Probably not good for my lens either, but whatever. But for some reason, the Red videos have started to pop off again, so might as well give you guys another Red video because it's been a while since I talked about it. The Red Raven. I actually used this on a film recently. It's called Break. I don't know if you guys saw that film yet. If you haven't, I'll put a link in the top right corner. Number one question that I get a lot right now is, do I still use this rig right here? The answer, I will be honest, not as much because I've been shooting on the Red Gemini a lot. I still think that the Red Gemini is by far my favorite Red. Reason being is because of that dual native ISO. Red cameras do tend to struggle in low light. If I have a slightly dark image on this Raven right here and I'm shooting at 800 ISO, I am getting almost unusable grain. I need to have a lot of light in my scene if I can get a useful image out of 800 ISO. I've heard a number of people also say that, hey, you should be using, that's like made for denoise or whatever. Maybe I'm just not the greatest DP. That's why I don't DP as much as I used to. I tend to shoot, especially in low light scenarios, I actually drop down to like 400 ISO just so I can have a more usable image out of camera. All of you amazing DPs out there are probably yelling at me in the comments right now, like, why would you do that or whatever? If you do know why I should not be doing that, let me know in the comments down below, please. I do want to learn. But would I get this camera in 2026? Honestly, if you're trying to start out on Red and you can find a good deal on the Raven, I'm sure you can. The Raven is very affordable nowadays. And you're okay with EF glass, I think, yeah, I would 100% get it. Because personally, I do not like the Komodo. I've shot 2 or 3 films on the Komodo, and I think it's fine. Don't get me wrong. I think the Komodo is okay, but if I'm being funny about it, I say I hate it. I tell a lot of my DP friends and all of my camera buddies that I hate the Komodo. I've shot on the Komodo X and the Komodo. I haven't shot on the V-Raptor yet, but personally speaking, I find that the Komodo just feels a little too sterile. I don't know how to explain it. I've always kind of explained it like, every single time, like no matter how weird of a lens that I put on the Komodo, I'm always seeing some sort of sterileness. Almost like when you're painting on a blank canvas, I can't seem to get rid of the blank canvas underneath. Again, maybe I'm just not a good enough colorist or whatever. I actually have been practicing color grading a lot more recently. But I always feel that with DSMC2, I'm able to get the inherent character of pretty much any lens that I put on it. And it's not feeling like a filter on top of a sterile image. It feels like the inherent character of the lens. So this camera's max resolution is 4.5K, and I personally think that is perfect. I don't like shooting anything higher than 4K in most situations. The only reason why I would be shooting at 8K is if we're doing heavy VFX work or I want to be like punching in and having all that flexibility. But I've never had any situation where 4.5K was not enough resolution. I'm able to scale in like a decent amount because most people still are working on, of course, a lot of people are probably working on 4K monitors nowadays, but a good amount of the population is still using 2K, 1080p, or they're watching on their phones and stuff like that, where you don't see a difference. But yes, I think that the 4.5K is 100% well enough within my means. I've shot on the Komodo a number of times, and we shot on 6K. In any Red camera, I would never shoot in a different resolution than what is native to the sensor because, of course, you're punching in on the sensor every single time you drop the resolution. And I'm like, fuck that, dude. I want the entirety of the sensor. So if you're thinking about a Raven, I would personally recommend it, especially if you're really heavy into EF glass, because, of course, it is a native EF mount and it is not replaceable. which is, I've talked about that in the previous video already, that has given me trouble recently because I haven't been able to use all the fun glass on this camera. And if you don't know this already, you cannot adapt PL to EF because the flange distance is just too long. Anyways, back to that short film I was talking about that I shot earlier called Break. That was just a cinematography project, and I shot all of that footage, or I shot most of that footage on the Red Gemini 5K. And I love that freaking camera. I'll do a video on that sometime soon. But I shot a little bit of B-roll on the Raven to match the Gemini. And of course, since they're both red raw in the same color space, it matches flawlessly. I don't think you guys notice too much of a difference between the Red Gemini and the Red Raven here. In fact, let me see if I can show you all. All right, so everything in this location right here we shot on the Gemini. It turns out really well. The grain is much tighter on the Gemini. So even in low light situations, it has a pleasing grain, I guess you could say. The grain on the Raven is just a little bit too dancey, or not a little bit too dancey, it's very dancey, and it's just not satisfying to look at. The Gemini has much better low light capabilities, so if I do upgrade my red sometime soon, I am definitely getting the Gemini. I think that is, again, my favorite red camera of all time. So again, the entirety of this location is shot on the Gemini, and the shots right here with the knife are shot on the Raven. Again, I don't know if you guys can see too much of a difference, but it was a breeze to match the Gemini and the Raven. I don't know why. They're the same lineup of cameras, so I don't really know why you'd be surprised that they match really well. Another thing that a lot of people talk about when it comes to red cameras is that I see a lot of people having trouble with red mini mags. These little guys right here, it says three-eyed on this red mini mag. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think a lot of people have trouble with red mini mags that are above the 512 gigabyte. I like, especially the Linus Tech Tips video, whenever they were using red cameras, they were always saying that the red mini mags failed on them. But they did use all 1 terabyte red mini mags. I have never once, knock on wood, never once had any trouble with my red mini mags. I have 2 120 gigabyte cards, and I've also used the a 480 red mini mag, and again, never failed. So knock on wood that they continue to not fail. I don't know if Red is still servicing DSMC2. I think that is a blessing that I've had, is that I've never had any issues with media or footage loss or anything like that. So I guess if I were to make any, or if I were to give any advice on buying any red camera or a red camera kit, try to stick to below 512 gigabyte red mini mags, because anything above that, which I think there's only one that's above that, which is the 1 terabyte version of the red mini mags, anything above that, they just fail way too often, and that's just horrible QC on red. But I'm going to reiterate the same thing that I said in the last video that I made on the red camera, is that if you are okay with EF mount, then sure, yes, the Red Raven is a great way to start. If you're not okay with that, I would probably recommend going to the Red Scarlet W at the very least, because the Red Scarlet W, it still is, again, very affordable these days, and you can change out the lens mount, so you could be using PL glass on it if you'd like. Yes, the rigidity of the EF mount right here is getting annoying. That's why I've been shooting on the Gemini a lot more. Other than that, though, if you're okay with EF glass and say you have a lot of, like, maybe EF Cine glass, oh yeah, the Raven is great, especially if you're just trying to dip your toes into the red ecosystem. I have noticed, though, of course, that red DSMC2 is dead. Not many people talk about the red DSMC2s anymore, and I think that's a little bit of a shame, because I personally just don't like DSMC3. I don't like the Komodo. I don't like the Komodo X. I've yet to shoot on a V-Raptor, and I think the saving grace about that is that it has internal NDs, and I think that's the first red camera to have internal NDs that I know of. Yeah, hold on, let me see. Is there any other camera? No. Okay, yeah, the V-Raptor is the only one that has internal NDs. But I really just don't like that stupid screen on the top with that, look, where it's just completely mounted in there. The V-Raptor fixed that problem because they put the monitor on the side, or your AC monitor on the side, which I think is a better step in the right direction. But I really just don't like how the Komodo has just that integrated screen on the top that doesn't articulate. It's because you're gonna put a top handle on there probably, right? So if you're gonna put a top handle, I don't want to have to be like sneaking in underneath that top handle just to get to my settings. I hate that. But of course, one of the best things about a red camera is, of course, the color science. Red RAW format is still one of my favorite formats to color. RE RAW is, okay, you can't beat RE RAW. I actually colored a couple shots on an RE Alexa 35 and I was like, all right, that's really nice. Of course, second to the RE RAW is Red RAW, and every single time I look at my before and after, color grading some red footage or raw footage in general, I'm just like, that's nice. Anyways, guys, I just wanted to yap a little bit more about this camera. I know a lot of you are, for some reason, rediscovering the Red Raven again. And so, if you have any questions about the Red, put them down in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.